Hello and welcome to the Spaghetti Junction podcast. My name is Bruce.
My name's Gareth.
We talk about things we just don't know where they're gonna
We're
go.
gonna go. Looking nice and toasty there. A little bit warm.
Yeah, cold Joburg, getting miserable. Winter is coming. So
Winter is coming.
yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah. Well, rock and
decided
roll,
I
champ.
decided I'd go a little
Oh,
bit more metalhead today as well.
name of God. Yeah. If people know who they are, then congratulations.
Yeah.
You don't. Your hearing is slightly worse than the people who don't know who they are.
Yeah,
It's
sorry,
not weird.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think we can kind of call this a part two or
Yeah. Or
uh,
a
a,
follow
a
on.
s- a follow-on. Yes, there we go. There you go. Look at you with the language. A follow-on
Follow on. Portmanteau.
from our interesting discussion that we had last week regarding the TV series Adolescence that's garnered
Yeah.
a lot of attention on Netflix. And so today we're sort of going a little bit more into uh, actual incel culture, which was mentioned briefly in the show. But now we're sort of heading into it a little bit more, um, looking at dealing with maybe with older guys, sort of in their sort of early 20s, going into their 30s and their 40s, that kind of thing, and some of the some of the things that have come out of this. So
But
if
definitely, though,
any,
I would say though that incels in general, a lot of them are in their teens. Correct. It,
yeah,
it'll grow from teenage upwards, so not from
yeah,
20. It'll be earlier than 20.
yeah, okay, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it will affect, yeah, from
Which is
teenage years upwards. You're right. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Carry on.
yeah. So, so just for anyone who hasn't heard the term incel before, it is basically a shortened term for the phrase involuntarily celibate.
And that word, actually, interesting enough, is a portmanteau.
How did I know you were going to go there? Gareth learnt a
Portmanteau.
new word.
I don't know it, but I'm excited. Portmanteau
Use
is
it in this.
basically when you can take two words and form them into one, like in celibate, in voluntary, celebrate, in cell, boom. You're welcome.
Correct. Yes.
That's the word of the day. That's my
Bro,
input for quite a while. So there we go.
it's like Sesame Street. Brought to you by the word portmanteau and the number 9.
There we go. Thank you. Carry on.
So, so what we've seen over the past couple of years, when we hear the word incel, we think it's been used to describe particularly a guy who is really struggling with dating and
I don't think
struggling to
it's yeah. Sorry. I'll let you go. My apologies. Keep on going.
struggling with social with his sort of social interaction, especially around women, and finding that there are a lot of guys who are not having a lot of success within dating, and just the simple act of finding a girlfriend in a relationship. And it's becoming quite widespread that a lot of guys have become very angry and
Mhm.
disillusioned and basically hopeless in a lot of ways, which is really sad. But um, it's become a big problem, and unfortunately, sometimes the anger that these boys and young men have been feeling has taken a very violent and tragic turn. Um, one of the most infamous, a number of years ago, was a young kid by the name of Elliot Roger, who was so angry that he decided that he would take a gun and go into onto a college campus and basically just start shooting a bunch of both women, young women and men on the college campus because of his anger that he was not getting what he thought he owed, which was female attention, which was thought that he was owed was female attention. Because, and if you watch some of his videos that he created, it's very, very scary and very creepy the way he spoke. And he was very, very angry that he just couldn't get the what he was looking for, and ended up it ended up in violence. So yeah,
Yeah, there was
that's
an actual Reddit. There was a forum, a forum actually, and this is like way back in 2017. There was a forum
yeah.
on Reddit that basically it basically got it was banned in 2017, so that was going on for a long time, and the reason why it was banned because of violent content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and what we've seen grow over the years is an online community of guys that get together, and instead of trying to find solutions and ways out of it, they almost encourage they encourage each other to just go deeper, and encourage each other to say, well, it really is hopeless, so what's the point, or they go, so they commiserate together, and they all get together and they go, oh, woe is me, I can't find a girl. Or they go, or it goes the hateful way, and it's extremely misogynistic, where there's this unbridled hatred of women, to the point where they start talking about very violent acts and all kinds of things
Yeah.
against women, and also against guys who are more successful with women than what they are.
But it's
So it's
mostly
not
against women.
yeah, mostly against women, but they do include the fact that they're jealous of guys that
Sure.
basically get all the girls. So
Yeah.
the terms that are used for a long time, I don't know if they still get used, but Chads and Stacy's. So so Chad is the archetypal, good looking, 6 foot tall, jack, guy that all the girls want. And
So
then the
pretty much
state
like me at the end of the year. Not kidding. I'm kidding.
pretty much. And then the Stacys are just all the girls that want those types of guys, but they don't want these other guys, basically. That's the thing. And some of those forums are pretty scary with what they talk about and their rhetoric and that.
Yeah, that's why they get banned. I
Yeah.
mean, if it gets to a point where something's banned, that means it's a problem.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think so. For a lot of what I've found, is a lot of these guys. It very much is a struggle with just social calibration and social skills in general. A lot of guys are very sort of isolated, and tend to just have let's just say that just women in general naturally are very much more socially calibrated, and so many guys struggle so much with that, especially going from teenage years and stuff like that. um, Teenage boys can tend to be quite awkward, whereas girls develop quite a lot quicker. And for a lot of times, guys can get a little left behind when it comes to sort of being social and that. And unfortunately, that can, if they're not in sort of correct social environments and have those kind of social experiences, they can sort of, yeah, like I said, get left behind in that. And
Yeah, there's you were mentioning Chad's and Stacey's. There's
mm.
there's another phrase that's also used, which is called looks maxing. I didn't know about it until I did
Yes,
a
yes,
bit of research. And looks maxing is basically where they focus more positive or negatively on their own perceived flaws. So they focus a lot on themselves. Um, and it's I'll just read one here. It's described as the act of getting as attractive as one can through grooming, style, or exercise. Incel communities share overlap with other online communities where young males meet and one can see the influence of video game culture. Oh, okay. And then you can be basically called maxed in like uh, wealth or or personality kind of thing.
correct,
That's I
correct.
find
Yeah,
quite
no,
interesting.
it's good. It's good that you mentioned that, because yes, so you do get a subset of guys that believe, they have this hardcore belief that if they don't look like that quintessential good looking guy,
Yeah,
that it's absolutely hopeless. So a massive thing is height. Oh, I'm too short, I'm under 6 foot, therefore it's hopeless. I'm only 4 foot 10, I can't get a girlfriend, or that kind of thing. It's like there's nothing you can do about your height. But the whole thing of improving yourself is still a good thing. But these guys take it to the extreme where maybe the guy is tall enough, but maybe he's really sort of quite scrawny, and sort of, okay, cool. So he's going to spend a ton of his time in the gym just to pack on muscle mass because he thinks that is what's going to help. And so what you find is with that looks maxing thing, guys will focus so much on the external things. So yes, maybe a good fashion sense, dressing well, there's nothing wrong with that. Getting in the gym, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, get sorting out your haircut, whatever. But unfortunately, well, what it is, a lot of these guys, they then don't spend enough time focusing on the internal and their mindset of how they see themselves. And if you don't work on that, you can be the most good looking guy or the most jacked guy in the room, but if you open your mouth and you don't have just that social calibration and be able to understand the nuances of what it's like to be in a social situation, you're still going to struggle.
yeah,
you know like just for me personally, when I knew that I had to get better with girls, if you want to,
yeah,
want to use that phrase,
yeah,
80% of it was 80 to 90% of it was an internal mindset shift. you know it was that understanding and developing my own self-confidence, and then from that developing making small changes in how I was socially, especially around women. They weren't massive changes, but a lot of it was an internal mind shift. And um and a lot of these guys, they get so into they're so um they have this mindset of it's completely hopeless, that they find that they almost just don't even bother thinking that they can even improve and make a shift to being better,
yeah.
which they
With
actually
the
can.
with
But
the whole
it's
maxing thing, I think the bigger focus is, and I think just in general, not just
mm,
being, and insult, just in general, anybody. I've learned that if you're doing something specifically because of somebody else, so for example, here's an example. Um, what can you know what actually here's an example which you can link link to to a relationship, for example. So
Yeah.
there's a problem there. There's issues. It's not going well. It might be ending. So the guy or the girl, it doesn't really matter. They think, okay, cool. I'm now going to go to gym, and the major focus is on I'm doing it only because of the partner. And then when that ends, then all the self-identity in what they're doing, I, yeah. So it's not a great point, but what I'm trying to say is that the moment that you start doing multiple things only because you're trying to do it for somebody else and you're not doing it for yourself, that's
Yeah.
where the problem lies. Because when that person is no longer part of the picture, then you've lost all hope in it, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
maybe that's what's happening with the maxing as well, is that they're doing it. It's like me, for example. I'm for example, I'm not linked to any of this, by the way, but it was an example with a gym, for example. I'm doing
Yeah.
gym not because I want to date, not because I want to find someone one day to oh my gosh, you look great, let's get. No, I'm doing gym because of myself, and
Mm.
I'm at a place where if somebody right now said, you know what, I like you, Gareth, but maybe lay off the gym for a while. Where I am right now, I'm not obsessed with gym, but it's part of my walk right now. It's part of my routine. It's part of who I
Absolutely.
am. And I'm going to be doing gym not because of somebody else. I'm doing
Yeah.
gym for myself. I want to
Yeah.
better myself for myself, where I think possibly some guys in the incels will be trying to better themselves for somebody else, for that
Yeah.
woman. And when that never happens, what's going to happen is your hope is gone. You're going to spiral, and you just it's not good. It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. However, what you're saying also is very good. All your points were very good. Caveat to that,
Yeah.
you're not like with me as well. We work out different ways because we're doing it for us.
Yeah.
But a side benefit is that externally,
Yeah.
you look like
Absolutely.
someone. You're in shape. You look good, and
Yeah.
that signals that you work hard at something and
Yeah.
you're disciplined at taking care of yourself. In a world where so many guys just aren't, you end up standing out. Which is a good thing. But you're not making external
But you're not making
validation
that
your
focus. See, and
exactly,
that's the
exactly,
difference. And to me,
exactly.
I actually don't care if a woman go, wow, it looks good, or why it doesn't look good. I don't care. Like,
It,
honestly, I don't. Yes, it's a side effect, which is great, but I'm not
yes,
looking into that. I don't.
exactly.
I honestly give a rat's ass if someone thinks, wow, he looks really good or not. I don't care.
Well, you see, but that's the thing that you see. Then you're approaching it in the right way, because a guy who does that for external validation from women will get to the point where he looks great, and
And
then
then what?
still won't get the validation from women, and goes, "Well, that was pointless."
Yeah,
And then
shit.
he
Now I'm
gets
back to
gets
zero.
angry because
Yeah,
he puts all the work in, but he
yeah,
doesn't get the actual return on investment.
yeah,
So yeah, and yeah, and one of my points is, you know, no amount of physical self improvement will fix your social skills. you
yeah,
know, just because, yeah, like I said, your muscles, your muscles will not help you talk to girls. That's part of that internal shift that you also have to practice. And social skills they're like a muscle, and you do have to practice them. I've
sure.
found that if I've spent too long on my own, I tend to get a little bit too much in my own head. And then I found that to a certain extent that my social skills, especially around women, I'm quite not as calibrated as I could be. And so that's why it's so important for guys to have social outlets. And it shouldn't actually be to meet women.
Huh.
It should just to be in social environments, you know um, in whatever field you like,
Yeah,
sports,
which
hiking,
yeah, which is
all that
healthy.
kind of
Which
thing.
is healthy.
Exactly, it's completely healthy.
Yeah,
But
because I think
unfortunately,
that the more you're doing stuff for somebody, I think that can be seen across as being needy.
oh yeah,
Um, I think the bottom line is really the conversation with as you say that in a dialogue. I think it's something. I think that's the issue, and the problem with incels and so forth, which many, is that there's a big community, and once you get
yeah,
into that community, you begin to talk the same language. You begin to
yeah,
talk the same hopelessness. You begin to talk the same
yes,
anger. And
yes,
that's the problem, because once you're in there, it's really hard to get out. Once
yeah,
you're like down the rabbit hole where everybody is validating your 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 lack of hope and your frustration, and that everything that you're
yeah,
feeling is right and they are wrong.
yeah,
That's the problem. And I think um uh that's the difficult spot, is when you're actually in, when that person is, because it's very big community on validating, because they struggle to get validation somewhere else. So it's such a warm hug, basically a big warm hug, that everyone around you is feeling the same way, and there's that self validation of how they feel, how they want to react, how they want to act, and that's the danger area.
yeah. What did I mean? That comes back to a point that I made in our last episode, where I said everyone wants to feel accepted,
Yeah,
and that's a community that accepts you, and you feel, like you said, you feel validated. People come around you and they go, we understand and stuff.
we
Instead of
agree,
helping to improve and get out of that, pull you they
and they
pull you
feed
further
down
in.
to
And
hopelessness. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. But in that same in that same in but it's crazy, because in the same sense they are, well, not in the same sense, what's the word, but at the same time they are, they're creating a sense of community and acceptance within hopelessness.
yeah,
So it's pretty crazy. And then and then when you're a guy and you decide that you do want to get out of that, because the mind is so strong when it comes to
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
A-
yeah,
and like, if you've made friends and your friendship circle, if you can call them friends, I don't really know, but your friends are
yeah,
all around that same topic, that same issue. um it's got to be very difficult, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. You are the product
Yeah,
of the people that you spend your time with.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, it's scary. Um, I think one of the biggest things, and this is I think we can we we definitely need to sort of give out some hope here, and some positive and some sort of positive vibes here as well. That there is, it is possible for, especially a guy, to get himself out, um, and to improve on those types of things. Thank goodness we have the internet. The internet can be very bad in a lot of ways, but because of so many guys talking about this, we
yeah.
have seen we have seen a lot of, guys comparing notes and talking about the same issues that they've had, whether they're in Joburg, South Africa, or Los Angeles, America, or, you know Bangkok, Thailand,
New
or whatever.
Zealand.
Or, discovering, like, hey, wait a minute, he had the same problem. He's in Bangkok, Thailand. He had the same problem that I have, sitting in Joburg, or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
man, let's talk about this.
yeah,
And and there is so much out there now, where guys are there are okay, so this is where guys need to be careful, is that there are sort of charlatans in the space, but there are also guys that are doing really great coaching with regards to helping guys with just general social skills, and understanding, um, how to communicate with women, and how women communicate, you know, and understanding all those subtle nuances of, being a guy who, quote unquote, what we call just gets it with girls, kind of thing.
But I think if that's the only focus, that's a problem. Because
Oh
in
yeah,
some, I believe that's a byproduct. I believe that the
yes,
major issue is the self-worth. It's the self-worth and the
absolutely,
lies that they believe about themselves. That should be
yes,
the focus, because if it's only about how to talk to girls, it's not going to help, because that's not
yeah,
the root. That's not the root evil. The root
yeah,
evil is someone who's just frustrated with themselves, or there's issues internally.
yeah,
I believe that's the first focus. Then the whole how to talk to girls, great. Let's add that
yes,
on top of the cake. But the major
yeah,
cake is like, why? Where do you get those feelings from? Why? Blah blah blah, and working through
yeah,
those.
yeah. You can. Yeah. A guy's gonna a guy with no social skills. He's gonna struggle to talk to both guys and girls
Yeah,
in a normal way.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, like I was just saying, there are ways, and there is help for guys who do definitely want to get out of that. But for a lot of guys, they kind of just don't want to. They're so far down the rabbit hole that they don't even think that the doing the work will help, kind of thing.
Well,
Which
that's when you
is
need.
which which is very
That's when you
very
need
sad.
good friends, good family.
Yeah,
That kind of thing. That's um. I remember it was about a month, about 3 weeks ago. There was a bunch of social influencers, girls, you know, going out and doing a live stream,
yeah,
which again, these live streams are very dangerous. Anyways, so they were just out and about at I think it was like at a circus fest. It was out and about at some festival kind of thing. And
mm,
this guy comes up to them, um, like, hey, how you doing? You're really, really pretty, blah, 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 and say, well, thank you so much, and then they walked on, and they realized, a portion of time that he was following them, and they said, yeah,
mm,
is there a problem? He said, no, yeah, I'd just like your phone number, please. And they were like, well, we don't know you. We're live streaming. That it's just not going to happen. Fine. They're walking on, and then it got to a point where he's following them, and he says, I'm going to come and kill you. This is from the point that literally took about, how long did it take? I read it. It was literally between a 5 and 8 minutes, like
yeah,
literally less than 10 minutes. The
yeah,
person evolved from, hey, I think you're pretty, to
yeah,
I'm going to kill you. It's
yeah,
like, where the fudge did that come from? It's
yeah,
crazy. Uh, and 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 it it was just so yes, and thankfully they do not do live streaming anymore, because that is, when you're live streaming. Sorry, this is a side thing. When you're live streaming,
mm,
people know where you are, and obviously
yeah,
you're going to get some dodged people out there.
yeah,
Why put yourself out on the internet as a face that a lot of people will know,
yeah,
and expect that, unfortunately, and expect that nothing's going to happen? But yeah, it just it surprised me in a sense, where he went from that mode, and in about 5 or 6 minutes, he had
just
crossed it
flipped.
from, hi, I think you're great, love to meet you, to bam, I'm gonna kill you. Like,
Yeah,
where the hell how did those two even align?
exactly, exactly. And that's and you can understand when a guy has just had rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection. It just you can understand how a guy can just get so angry and frustrated, um,
No, but
that he will.
still,
Mm,
I can't
yeah,
understand it.
yeah.
So
I know. I know. It's the
okay,
it
I
will
can vaguely
vaguely understand it.
understand, but it's
Yeah,
not something that, like, because if that was the case, there would be many more guys out there going loco.
yeah,
So the
yeah.
question
It's it.
is if two guys are rejected multiple times, One
Yeah.
will just, it hurts, it sucks, he'll
Yeah.
leave them alone. The other
Yeah.
person with the same amount of rejection goes to a point where he says, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
So I can understand to a level, but I can't understand how there's no reason, as in like you can understand. Well, that kind of almost gives a justification, which is, I know,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
not,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I know is not
Yeah.
what
No,
you
maybe
were
that
saying.
was the
But
wrong choice of words.
yeah, but there's no justification for what they do. I guess you can understand it in a mindset of an incel. I can understand where that mind thing, but there's no
There's no justification for that.
no rationalization, no justification for someone to think, hey, you're pretty, and then 5 minutes later on live stream, I'm going to kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
that's not cool at all. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's
Tell me,
and mm,
sorry. When you're done with that point, I want to know about this whole because we are getting closer to our time. I want to know
yeah.
about this whole red pill or blue pill. That's very interesting.
Ah, okay. Well, we can go there. I wasn't going to make a massively
Okay.
important point. I was just looking through my notes.
So there's a
So
thing,
okay.
a red pill and a blue pill, and I know that you are aware of that.
Yes.
As in, like you, I think that's actually something which you explained to me when I was first trying to work out, like, what the heck is an incel? And then you mentioned the Matrix. I was like, Matrix, and yeah, far away.
Okay, so let's see if I can put this in a nutshell and not go too far down the rabbit hole.
Well, I mean, you have like another 9 or 10 minutes. We'll let
Okay,
you
cool.
go.
So we rounded off to about an hour and we're good.
Great, done.
Okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, so a lot of so you hear about this whole red pill movement when it comes to, around on the internet, especially when talking about dating and all that kind of thing, and then we have the blue pill as well. Now, yes, it's an analogy to the Matrix where Morpheus says he. Hmm?
Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah, so where Morpheus offers Neo two different pills, and he says, "This is the red pill. If you take this, you're going to know the truth, and you're going to just see how far the rabbit hole goes. If you take the blue pill, you get to go back to your life and live in. You get to go back, and nothing. It's not nothing ever happened. And
Yeah.
I hold these two pills in front of you, and you make the choice. And obviously, Neo takes the red pill. Take the
Yeah.
red pill, which is a phrase now,
Yeah.
and then sees the Matrix and sees the real world, sees the world for what it is. The sort of the veil's been stripped away from his eyes, and he understands the truth. That's basically, and so what the red pill is really a lot. I think it's gotten a lot of negative press over the years, but what it really is, it's men's understanding of how female nature works. Basically, it's understanding the dynamics, what we call intersexual dynamics between men and women, how
That's the red
men
pill.
communicate, and really understanding the truth, and then adapting to that, and adapting to improving yourself to the point where you can maybe have a dating life, where you can maybe get a girlfriend, where you can, and it goes into marriage as well, all that kind of thing. It's just that understanding really of how women communicate from a guy's point of view, really. And then the blue pill, what we talk about is the people who still believe in old school traditional ways of doing things, where they don't actually understand. They've been, maybe, you have these people who have been married for a long time and that kind of thing, where they come from a period of time where dating was not like it is now. There were no dating apps, there was no social media, there was none of that stuff that has had a huge influence, mainly negatively, in how dating works. And when you when someone who is so-called red pill aware, if they talk to someone who is more sort of blue pill traditional, it really it doesn't compute with them. They really don't kind of
But now,
understand that way of going. So
but now
that's why you have those two different.
I'm trying to, okay, that's good, but I'm trying to really
Mm.
look at it within the incel culture. There's also
Oh,
the, so that's great, but on
mm,
the incel culture. So I'm going to read you something for this, a little bit on this. So this is just a little paragraph about it. For incels, the reality presented to them rather by the red pill is that love and sexual satisfaction are are commodities that women deny them, and that women, not men, control the sexual aspects of society. Under this assumption, sex and relationships become almost like a game. So that's a red pill. And when they are described as red pilled, it means that they have accepted that reality. So what you're saying is very different to the incel focus. Um,
I
so what you're saying is good,
um,
and
mm,
maybe it equates, um,
I think it does.
but this goes to into it a bit more on the incel side of things than the
Okay.
actual, you know, on the dating side. I don't know if that kind of, if you agree or you don't have to agree.
Okay. I do get what you're saying, and I agree with that from that side. I think, and I think I think what's from that side of things with regards to like incel guys is that they, I think they, like you said, they understand the reality of how things work, with regard, all of that kind of thing, which means, you've seen the truth, you've taken the red pill, whatever you want to use
Well,
that language.
no, because this isn't. No, because this is their truth. So it's not true. Their truth is this, okay? Is that love and sexual satisfaction are commodities that women deny
Okay.
them, and that men
Oh,
not,
right. Okay.
and women not men control. It's very different. The red
Oh,
pill is
okay. All right.
basically is that belief that, and yeah. So it's that
I
wrong
get you.
belief that
Mm,
love and
okay.
sexual satisfaction are commodities that women deny them,
Right.
and
Right.
that
Right. Right.
women,
Right.
not
Okay.
men, control the sexual. So it's not that. So so so
Okay.
so so it's a bit different to what you're saying. It's not
It
the
is.
same
It
thing.
is.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
Okay. No, you're right.
It's
Okay. Yeah.
no,
It's almost like so.
it's not the same.
So you're getting guys who, um they, yeah, like you say, they're being denied, which gives them, which gives them, there's almost like this false sense of entitlement, like, well, why are you denying me this, you know and that kind of thing. And then that's what, um then fuels the anger, because I think with a lot of guys, what they've maybe done is they thought that they've done everything that they thought they should do, you know be nice, be chivalrous, be all of that kind of thing. And, I think one of Elliot Rogers, what he was saying in one of his videos, I remember, where he's like, I am the perfect gentleman. Why aren't these women throwing themselves at me, kind of thing? Like, it was
Well,
that sort of
going
lack
to.
of
No matter
that
who
lack of
you are.
exactly, that lack of understanding of,
Yeah.
and then they have these idealized ideas of, that they think, oh, if I just do all of this, then the girls will like me, and then they get really angry when that kind of stuff doesn't work. And and then they do this, well, I did all of this, therefore I
Mm,
deserve this, why are you denying me? And then it just falls apart. And then you get that anger, and that sort of darker attitude towards all of that.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
it's a scary thing, man.
Would you say that incels are part of what is known as the manosphere? It's not a trick
No,
question, because I
no.
think
I,
I think in part they are. Tell me why you don't think so. As we wrap up, actually.
I'm starting to not like that manosphere term because it's sort of
Yeah,
some people call it the swamp because it just got
yeah.
inundated
So
with
the
all kinds of stuff.
manosphere, yeah,
I think,
because in
yeah,
people's views, incels are possibly seen as part of what is the manosphere, the whole, men's rights, alpha male influences,
I think, yeah, I think at one stage early on, the sort of the manosphere was just really just a community of guys getting together and talking and swapping notes. There was
I
no
think it's
negativity. It was just guys literally going, I've had the same problem sitting in my country as you've had sitting in your country. Um, Seems like we're seeing the same types of patterns with regards to our dating lives. What's going on? Let's have a discussion. And
yeah,
because we want to get better and we want to help other guys improve. So maybe the incels are a subset of what we call the manosphere.
manosphere.
I always thought it was a dumb
I'm just
term anyway. But anyway,
no. It
but
sounds very. The manosphere sounds so chauvinistic. It really does.
it's just,
To me,
yeah,
it does. The
because
manosphere.
yeah, you see, the problem is
I don't have to have a name for it.
it's just it got taken over by a lot of more sort of extreme, whereas you get the middle part where it is guys just generally just wanting to have conversations,
Yeah, yeah,
with no majorly misogynistic views or whatever or anything like that. Just having
yeah,
discussions. I'm like, man, I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble with this girl, man. What's she doing? Well, it seems to be like this because I'm having the same kind of trouble. And I learned this. And, we're just having this back and forth. And then unfortunately, that you get that extreme of like
yeah.
you get Andrew Tate on the one end and you get incel culture on the other end. It's like two
Whoa,
ends.
no, hold on. We're going to end it here. They are not that far apart. How you're saying is Andrew Tate is, with my hands, is there, and incels are there. Definitely not that far off from people. That's a
Eh,
bad example. Andrew Tate. Sorry, we'll leave it on that one. I would say you're David Goggins, maybe, but not Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate has a lot more links to incel thinking than a David Goggins would, for example. I think he's
I don't know.
very. I think Tate's views and a lot of his stuff has had
Okay, yeah,
negative
all right. Okay, no, I get
impact,
I
but
get your point.
not on the opposite ends. They are way closer than you think.
I
He's
think
just an
so.
example.
Yeah, I
So no,
so
I
what
don't
my
agree with you
what
on that one.
what my thinking was with you get Andrew Tate on one side who is like you know you know alpha male deluxe, if you like. He's got all the money, he's got all the girls, he's got all the status, he's got everything, and then you get someone on the other end of the spectrum who just can't find a girlfriend, kind of thing. That was my thinking,
Oh, is that
not
okay? You
anything
go.
more,
Sorry.
not anything more than that. No, no. But
Oh,
I do
sorry.
get
I
though.
misunderstood you completely.
No, no, but I do understand your point. Is that some of his
Some of his stuff, not all.
some of his more extreme views get
Yeah,
adopted
yeah,
by
yeah.
I complete no, dude. I
That's
completely. That's
yeah.
why he's like, Andrew Tate. I think look, I must admit some of his stuff with regarding to male mindset and stuff like that, just with improving yourself. Some of his stuff I've really enjoyed. But
Yeah.
having said that, he can he almost became a bit of a caricature, almost like a Johnny Bravo type of thing.
Johnny Bravo.
You know,
Yeah. He's
it's like and he was just it's like the extreme alpha
yeah,
male is like Andrew Tate, kind of thing.
yeah.
And it's like, no, he's like 1%. He's like 0.5% of guys who are going to be like that, you know, kind of thing. But because he's so prominent online, so many guys started adopting that.
Yeah.
In more sort of extreme ways. They took his beliefs to extreme. Like I've said, I mean, I enjoy some of his stuff with regards to self-improvement and like really just inspiring myself to get better. He has some amazing stuff to say, but he obviously also has some extreme views, which guys took to heart. I mean, a lot of younger guys,
especially
and then became, and then I think that's what got him into trouble. He's too outspoken, and if he had just not been as outspoken, I don't know.
I think it's more than being outspoken, because you can say certain stuff that being outspoken just means that your views and some people don't like it. We're actually run out of time. Let's just leave it there. I think he's more than outspoken. I think a lot of his views against women are completely trash, are completely negative. A lot of his stuff, yes, he does have some things. Yes, what you say, you know, self-improvement, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he also has all that extra garbage that unfortunately gets out, especially to youngsters. And
that's the thing. That's the thing. No one's putting out viral clips of him talking about how to improve yourself. Everyone's putting out viral clips of him saying other extreme stuff. So the positive stuff gets lost, and the more viral extreme stuff is what garners the attention, which is how the internet works.
True, but unfortunately there are extreme, and that will always get above anything else he says because of his thoughts. Anyways, and funny enough, he actually wants to run for the position of Prime Minister of England. So that's going to be interesting.
Jeez, anything's going to be better than what we have, than what they have now. Good grief.
Well, we have Trump on that side, and then we have Conor McGregor, who's going to throw his hats in the ring as well for Ireland. So, I mean, if Trump wins it, I wouldn't be surprised if McGregor has a chance.
I would. Countries are swinging. Hey, they really are going back.
Yeah.
You're seeing it all over, man. The world is being shaken at the moment.
Yeah. On that note, I want to just finish with a quote that was on CNN. Said that youth are searching. Oh wait, sorry, it wasn't CNN's view. It was somebody that that they had interviewed. He says this. He said, "Youth are searching for that sense of belonging, that kind of grounding to explain what's happening to them. In the last few years, more young people have had to turn to communities online. We've seen a degradation of in-person social skills." That pretty much wraps it up. Dan. Right.
This has been the Spaghetti Junction podcast.
a little bit longer. So whoever lasted, well then.
Yeah. Please like, comment, subscribe, share with us your views and everything. And yeah, we will catch you guys in the next one.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Have a good one, guys. Bye.